Sunday morning boogie. I was answering. It helps in the morning, I think, to do that. Though it's evening for our Australian guests. So welcome everybody to this session on the Mindful Drinking Festival. Dave will join us in a moment. I think I sent him into the wrong room. He's probably sat somewhere on his own, crying, sobbing. He's got no friends. Hopefully we'll bring him in a minute. But we have 3 people with us at the moment. 2 from Australia. So we've got Irene and Maz from Australia and Lisa from up north. And then Dave will be here in a moment. And this session is all about giving you some of the really early tools that you might need to change your drinking. So if you're thinking about a month off drinking, or if you're at the early stages of changing your drinking, it may be tempting to think that you can rely just on willpower, but we've all been there and done that. So we've got some great top tips to help you. So I'm going to start by just going around the panel and asking them to tell a little bit more about themselves, a bit about their story, and then also your one killer tip for changing your drinking or planning for a month off drinking. I'm going to start with you, Maz. Go on, share who you are.
Oh, okay. What's the time frame? Because I've got like a 5-hour version of my story, or I can do 5 minutes. So
there's a nice quick punchy shot, because we'll come back to some of your rest of your story, Maz, because I know it's a good one.
I mean, I can talk. So my name's Maz Compton. I'm a radio host here in Australia. I live on the Central Coast in New South Wales, and I have not had a drink for almost 7 years. Prior to that decision, I drank all of the drinks on behalf of everybody. And I came to a bit of a crisis point in my life, and I decided that I had to change my behavior if I wanted to get a different result in life. And so I actually decided to take a month off drinking. And so I chose January 2015 to be my 31 days alcohol free. This is the new me. And I haven't had a drink since. And so the big tip that I think I can give everyone who might be sober curious, you're drinking a bit too much, a bit too often, it might not be super problematic for you. That was my story. I think I was a high functioning gray area drinker, and I had a great job. I was in a relationship, and on paper, my life looked amazing. But internally, I was struggling, and I felt really ashamed of my drinking behavior. So when you're coming to this point where you think a month off is a good idea, I understand how scary that can be. And I remember thinking, I will literally die if I don't have a drink for 4 weeks, because everything in my life was about drinking, catching up with friends, hanging out on the weekend, after work, before work, sometimes before work. I worked in the afternoon, just to clarify. But I just was always drinking in every area of my world, no matter what I did. And so the thought of not having alcohol was scary. So what I did is I figured out why I wanted to stop. And so that's my big tip, is to figure out the reason why. So if it's because you want to get healthy, you want your marriage to stop failing, you want to work out maybe if you are somebody suffering with alcohol dependency disorder or not, you want to be a better mom, you want to get a good night's sleep, you want to stop being hungover. There's a million reasons. I probably had about 10 reasons, if I'm being honest. But if you can identify one reason why you don't want to drink for 30 days, you can keep circling back to that on the days where it might not be all roses. So that's a bit about me, and a bit of my one big tip is your why.
Brilliant. Thanks, Maz. Irene, what about you? Did you ever meet in bars? I do feel that sometimes when I meet other people in this space, that if we'd all been friends and we were drinking, it would be just hard. Terrible. What about you, Irene? I know less about your story.
I've got to speak to Maz before, actually.
Yes.
Hi. Yes.
Hi, babe.
Hi. And yeah, we have such different stories and we've never met before this space. So I'm Irene and I am the founder of a non-alcoholic bottle shop in Sydney called Sans Drinks. It's a physical, like any liquor store you would see, but it looks like it from the outside. But when you walk in, every single thing is alcohol free, which is awesome. And I'm a business person, so I had another company before where I, 10 years ago, and it was all about taking the toxins out of our skincare products and all of the toxins out of the products that we use that really damage our environment. And back then, 10 years ago, it was a really innovative, crazy idea. Everyone thought I was crazy, but now it's very mainstream. And I sold that company, drank myself into oblivion working for the company that I sold it to. And I thought I just need to cut down and stop drinking. And I went into a bottle shop to see if I could find something to replace it with. And they looked at me like I was mad again. And I thought, oh, I've seen that crazy eyes look before. And, I got that same look when I went into a department store, 10 years ago asking for a natural deodorant. So I just had this aha moment where that's it. I've taken the toxins out of the environment. I'm going to take the toxins out of our alcohol now, or out of our drinks. And so that's what inspired me to start Sans Drinks. And my tip is very different to Maz's. See, my thing is with me is that my tip is make it fun. I genuinely don't miss drinking because I am enjoying, and so many of my customers are enjoying the discovery of all of these new things. And I tell you what, I've been drinking every single night this week, and that is a non-alcoholic margarita, a salty margarita. So one night I have it with chili, and the next night I'll just have it with some salt, and then I'll have it with some Doritos, and I'm just really enjoy making the drink. So my big tip is for a month is to plan out a couple of really great mocktails, learn to make them, pre-buy all of the ingredients that you need, and have some fun with it. Because I tell you, I felt tipsy last night on my spicy marg, and I had to double check the I know it's alcohol free, but I just wanted to double check because I felt that I just felt so good. So that's my tip.
That's brilliant. I'm always in awe of people who can make cocktails. I'm just so not good at it. All the time, oh Laura, will you come and make a cocktail? I'm like, no, you do not want me to do that. Thank you, Dave. Sorry, I think I sent you to the wrong place early on. It's my fault. But I'm going to ask you in a minute for a top tip. But I'm going to go to Lisa to get people started on their month off drinking. But I'm going to go to Lisa next to give you some thinking time.
Oh, thank you. I was just praying that nobody nicked my top tip there. I'm like, please don't say it. So I'm Lisa. I'm one of the co-founders of Be Sober. Oh gosh, what doesn't Be Sober do at the moment? It's more of a community, and we focus on health and well-being around stopping drinking. We're going to workplaces and try and show how amazing sober life can be. I stopped drinking just over 3 years ago, and I still cannot even believe I said that. Like, over 3 years ago. It's incredible. I was just fed up of feeling fed up every single Monday. I had a successful job, 3 children that were driving me absolutely crazy wild. And what I was doing is I was going out at the weekends. I was a binge drinker, and I was going out at the weekends to just shut everything off. I was just like, oh, I've had enough. I need to just kind of dumb it all down and knock myself out. And I just got fed up of doing it. And honestly, when I stopped drinking, I never intended it to be forever. I just thought I'll start with a 100-day challenge. And I just loved it. And I think this kind of goes nicely into my top tip, is because what I did was I saw everything as a bit of an experiment. And I didn't know, like Maz was saying before, drinking was such a big part of my identity. It was all I knew. All my friends drank, all my family drank. I didn't know how to have fun without drink. I didn't know how to do anything without alcohol, really. So I kind of went into it thinking, you know what, I'll just see who I am and how I act without drink. So what's a wedding like without alcohol? How do I react when I go out with friends without alcohol? How do I actually go out without getting a drink? Because I used to kind of drink for social reasons, and I'd had a bit of social anxiety. So getting ready without a drink, and it was just kind of a learning curve. So I just saw everything as an experiment. There's two choices. You can either go into the next 30 days feeling sorry for yourself, like, oh, it's so awful, I really need a drink, I can't wait till the end, or you can go in, see it as an experiment and focus on all the really, really good things about it, because there are some, I promise, for anybody that sat there like she's talking rubbish, it is pretty amazing. So that's it from me.
As I always say, the sky doesn't fall in. It just possibilities, right?
Yes.
Dave, what about you? Tell us about you and your killer top tip.
I've got to start by saying I've been sitting in this office 20 minutes, all lonely, wondering what's going on. So
I'm going to blame my friend Josh.
Yeah. And also the energy in this room is fantastic. It's like, I've been up since 4:30 because my wife's running the marathon today, and I had to drop her off in Westminster at 6 o'clock to the VIP coach, and she was sitting next to Chris Evans on the coach today because she's had cancer 3 times. She's had some of her lung removed, and she's running the marathon, and I'm so proud.
Amazing.
And part of that would be last night. If I was drinking, I'd have been panicking about driving into Westminster this morning. Would I have too much to drink? Blah, blah, blah. So when I woke up at 4:30, I was full of beans. And the other thing I want to say is 1,000 days ago today, I had a hangover. And that's the last hangover I've ever had, because I celebrate my 1,000 days today, and I feel so proud about that.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And I think my top tip, and I realise how powerful the mind is, that when you wake up in the morning, and especially if you're doing your Sober October or whatever, as soon as you start to think about alcohol, or whether you can get through the day or not, or whether you're going to drink tonight, start the day with intention by actually saying, today I am not going to drink alcohol. And that plants a seed into your mind, and you can get on with your day. Because otherwise, if that negative thought comes into your head, it's Sunday, or what about cooking a roast dinner and whatever, that will just fester and fester and play on your mind subliminally until you have a drink. And when you have that drink, people say, I don't know where that come from, I just had a drink. It starts straight away when you start thinking about it. So that's my tip, is get up in the morning, be proud that you've got up sober, and say, today I'm not going to drink the devil's brew.
It's amazing though, when you say the word hangover, my mind goes to this really awful place with the word hangover. God, I don't miss them. And actually I keep saying to people that I still have drinking dreams. I often even dream that I'm getting Club Soda members drunk, which is really irresponsible. But actually they're hangover dreams, and most of the dream is about the hangover, and I wake up in this great sense of relief that I don't actually have a hangover. What I hear from all of you, for quite a few of you, is that it wasn't about setting a lifetime goal. You never went into saying this is going to be forever. You just thought, I'm going to take some steps now. And Maz, you talked about that. If I don't change something now, nothing changes. Do you think it was helpful not to set a forever goal? Because does that not seem like a long time?
Yeah, full disclosure though, I had many mornings when I woke up hungover, and I did say I'm never drinking again, but I never didn't drink again until I decided to plan for a month off alcohol. And I think if I had have gone into it going, I can never have a drink again, I would have set myself up for a failure for sure. And like you were saying, Dave, it is a lot about your mindset, and your mind is the mind game, this stuff. And so I think for me, a month seemed really achievable. And a month felt long enough. Like, it wasn't a weekend. It wasn't just Carly's party. It was like, let's spend a whole month of my day-to-day living, my job, my relationship, my friends, my weekends, and see, like you were saying, Lisa, see how I am without the added alcohol, and see if I like that person, and see if it is doable. And then when I got to the end of the 4 weeks, I was like, I like this. I haven't had a hangover for 4 weeks. This feels really good. I'll keep going. It's my birthday in March. I'll get to my birthday and see how I feel. And I got to my birthday and I was like, I don't feel like having champagne today. I'm good. And then it was like 6 months. And before you know it, it's like months and months have gone by and you haven't had a drink, and you think about it less and less because you've got more memories of not drinking that are in recent recall than the ones that you have about drinking and how inclusive you could feel in those moments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, Lisa, because Lisa, you talk about that as well, that idea that you want to see who you are without alcohol. But in that first month, you could feel quite awkward and even a little bit low because you're taking something out your diet, and a little bit of floundering around with what to do with your time. You might not like yourself totally that much. This could all go pear-shaped, couldn't it, if you had that criteria?
Yeah, it can. That's definitely a risk. But I feel like the risk factor on you not liking yourself sober is a risk you should take, because I don't know anyone who doesn't like themselves sober eventually.
Yeah.
Because you actually learn to love the real you, and you live out of a place of authenticity, and you have to get sober to have that revelation about your relationship with you. Does that, yeah.
No, I do get that, because I think that I felt that as well. But, you know, Lisa, how do you get people to hang on there and see those benefits without giving it in because they feel like they're not the person they were?
Oh gosh, Laura, I'm not really sure how to answer that, because it can be really, really difficult. And I think another thing that is quite hard is the people around you as well. I remember sat there thinking, oh God, nobody's going to like me, because it was such a big part of my identity. Will people like me without the drink? And I had to go through a bit of a process of, actually, if they don't like who I am without a drink, are they really the friends that I thought they were? So all I can say there is, it's not necessarily the easiest thing you will ever do, having to sit with yourself, but it's something that you definitely should be doing, and should kind of, maybe that's the bits you need to white knuckle a little bit, to be honest, and just know that there's light at the end of it, because there is, and kind of believe all those sober people that are telling you that when you get to that point, you will be all right.
I mean, I guess it's that sitting with the discomfort and knowing that we're somewhere. Dave, as a bloke, that must be even more awkward. A bloke who goes to the pub, which is what you were, that social pressure must have been quite big as well.
No?
I
didn't care. Honestly, I really didn't care. And I mean, I'm saying that without being arrogant. I didn't care, because I've been drinking for over 40 years, right? And I was that bloke who'd go into the pub and it'd be, yeah, I'm here. And it'd be, Davey boy's here, let's get around. And I went in, I don't drink anymore. And I didn't care what they said, you know. And actually, most of my friends now are in the sober community, and they've gone by the by. But also, I think it's important to remember the whys. What is your why for doing it in the first place? Like, why are you taking 30 days off? Why are you questioning your relationship with alcohol? You know, all these really important questions, because it's important to remember each day what you're doing. And for me, someone said to me, give up with me for 3 months. Well, it was on this day, 1,000 days ago, I got a text message. I was in the van, I was like, and I looked at it and I thought, I can't even give up 3 days. And it trickled in throughout the day. And I think subliminally over the last few months, I've been thinking, you know, I've got to sort this out, And then that day I stopped, and I've never looked back. But so the 3 months thing, after a couple of weeks, I was like, where am I going to be in 3 months? What am I going to be doing? Am I going to be going back to the same thing? So maybe, as Matt says, keep it open. Just think, not after 30 days, I can go to the pub and get hammered and start arranging a huge boozer. And just learn about yourself, journal, and you can use that as evidence. You can look back throughout the weeks and see how you were feeling. Were you feeling up? Were you feeling down? Find some hobbies that you used to do. There's so many things you can do to occupy yourself, and treat it as, like Lisa said, an experiment. Be positive about it and think, I'm gonna look different after 30 days. I'm gonna feel different, and take it from there, really. And that was a really long answer to one question. Sorry.
Fine. But I think you and I are quite similar, Dave, in the fact that it became a big act of rebellion. I've got a political background. Not drinking became this big defiant act, and I was lucky that friends I've got politics in common with as well, so it wasn't all about drinking. But I adored straight away going into the pub and not drinking. It felt like so counterintuitive and rebellious. It's great. What about you, Irene?
I think there's a couple of things, when you talked a lot about how you feel about yourself sober, but how do we feel about ourselves, or how did we feel about ourselves when we were drinking? Yeah, great on the night, but the next day I always hated myself. And so, we think when we think about, like, how do you feel about yourself sober, how do you feel about waking up the next day not having to think, what the hell did I do and what did I say? And I think that outweighs, even if you hate yourself sober, even that itself is better than that horrible anxiety feeling of what the hell did I say? Who did I kiss? Who did I pash? All those questions. We've all been there. So I think that's important. The other thing is, we talk about hobbies, right? How many more hours are there in a day? I mean, I started a whole new company just with the extra hours I have found in the day to do new things. And I'm sorry, this is really vain, but do you know how many calories are in alcohol? Literally, like, so many calories that when you stop drinking the alcohol, your jeans you look better and your jeans fit better. And for me, I know that's really vain, but like just doing nothing else but cutting out, not even every day, even if you just cut out, I don't drink at all, but just cutting out alcohol 3 or 4 days a week, you're already going to go down a jean size. And that is, come on. And
Amen.
Your skin looks better. Like, there's so many kind of physical, I know I'm a bit vain, but there's a lot of physical things I noticed that have improved.
Absolutely. Although, to be honest, Irene, no one's worn jeans for 18 months, right? We've all been in sweatpants.
Yeah. No pants.
Today for you, I am wearing trousers. Just so you feel privileged. Isn't it amazing that we spend a lot of time worrying about what we might miss if we give up drinking, but we don't think about that pain and that we had. It's, how come we didn't give up before? Because the hangovers, the not knowing what you did, the difficult situations you got yourself into weren't enough. It's amazing. Do you think, Dave, are there things that people can do to reflect on really early on? What things might they want to do to think about, to balance out the good and the bad of drinking in order to make that leap into changing?
I think you've got to think about how it affects your life in every way, for me, my relationship with my wife was, it become awful, because I went into my own world with my drinking and I started hiding it because she was criticising how much I was drinking. So I become deceitful, the relationship with the kids. And in the end, I felt so isolated that it was my world and I didn't want to do anything about it. It was a real sense of denial. So I think you've got to weigh up the options of how you feel, how your positivity is every day. I was negative all the time and I used to really criticise myself and beat myself up. And I think it was Irene saying, or Maz saying, about how you learn to like yourself again. My self-esteem was so low when I was drinking. And I used to look in the mirror and say, I remember one morning saying, who are you? Like, you know, I was achieving in so many areas. I was functioning with a business, with so many areas in my life, but that side of it was just so bad. And I can honestly say almost straight away, I started to get some confidence back. And then after a month, I met people in the sober community, made some new friends, and then I started to get my self-esteem back. So I think it's weighing up the odds of where you are in your life, and also looking ahead and where your life could be in a year. You know, like my friend said, how will you see yourself in 3 months with your health, your relationships? You know, how you will feel in the mornings when you wake up. And when you visualize ahead, it can really give you that stimulation to actually do something about it.
Lisa, how much is that knowing the life that you want to lead, who you want to be at the other end? How important is that to keeping going and well, making the decision and keeping going to begin with?
Massively. I'm a sucker for like affirmations and visualization. So I love that. I would literally, I had a dream board, vision board, the lot. But to be able to visualize that, I think is massively important. I just wanted to add as well something what Dave was just saying, but thinking about why you do drink is a really good idea. Like, write down, be truthful. What do you love about drinking? You know, we all write down about how good we feel when we're not drinking. But if you're at the early stages, there's going to be some reasons why you drink and why you love it, because you won't be doing it otherwise. So I think get real and write them down. Be honest with yourself. Are you doing it because it makes you more confident? Are you doing it because it makes you more sociable, or is it for anxiety? And then ask yourself them questions. Is it really helping? Is it doing that? And honestly, I say this to anybody. You write me a list of as many reasons as you want why you love alcohol, and I will double, triple, quadruple it on all the reasons why sobriety is so much better. But visualization, imagining yourself in 3 months, and it comes true. It really does. I know that sounds so corny, but it actually really does.
And I mean, Lisa, because I'm sort of the other side of the affirmation thing, which is I don't have any positive affirmations. I do no journaling. All right. So people need to know that it's still possible to change drinking without all of those things. You just have to notice. And in my head, I have a little list of things that I noticed really quickly when I changed drinking. And they weren't things that you would imagine. They were brilliant micro interactions with people on the tube in the morning, because I wasn't so hungover that I wasn't able to catch somebody's eye and have a little smile. That was one of my big wins. Didn't write it down anywhere, but it's still there. It's still this thing in my memory that says that's why you're sober. This is what keeps you going. Irene, you know, in those first few months, how do you deal with those issues around discomfort? That when you want to drink something, how do you make sure that in your mind you can switch yourself away from wanting a drink?
Well, for me, I still drink. It just everything that I drink has got no alcohol in it. So for me, and I still do. So for me, I will always still have a glass of red. It just will be a non-alcoholic red with my meals. So for me, I actually did some research on being hypnotized, on hypnosis, and some of the best hypnotists say that the best way to quit anything is to replace it with something else. So that was what I decided to do, and I just simply replace a margarita with a non-alcoholic margarita. That's just how what I do. But you know why I think I was drinking? One of the big reasons for me, and it goes back to what Lisa was saying, and this is a real eye-opener for anyone that doesn't know, but I was drinking in bed, like a lot, like just a straight up tequila by my bed, because I thought that it helped me sleep, because I was having some trouble sleeping. Lisa, you can talk to this. Alcohol doesn't help you sleep, does it? What I was going out like a light, and it felt fantastic. But what happened at 3 o'clock in the morning? What happens?
You wake up.
You don't go back to you don't go back to sleep, and you feel worse the next day because you've had no sleep. And why did I think that it was a sleeping aid.
Well, because it's one of those myths that we're continually told in society. I mean, you sort of trivialize slightly the fact that you switched to alternatives, to alcohol-free alternatives, and actually, it's of the 96 behaviour change techniques there are available in the world, substitution is one of them, and it's a really important technique. It might be that you substitute your drink for some really good chocolate, and we all know that we might get the sugar cravings when we change our drinks. So in the early days, in fact, sugar's your friend, but you shouldn't, as a technique to change your drinking. It's a really good one, Irene, and it worked for you, which is absolutely fantastic. So,
and it made me not miss it. I just don't miss it, because I realised what I loved so much was actually holding something in my hand whilst being social. And when you go out and you don't drink, and you're just drinking a Coke, even, people do look at you in a weird way. But now, just to hold something else in my hand, people don't even think twice. They just don't even ask. And when you're talking and you're holding something in your hand and you're drinking it, it's that aspect of the situation more so than the actual alcohol content.
I have to say, I'd quite like to go to Irene's house for drinks. It sounds like it's a fantastic.
There's always mocktails, always.
Maz, how do you deal with how can people begin to deal with that discomfort of not because that'll happen a lot this month, right? People will be going pacing around the kitchen, their internal monologue is going to be going absolutely bonkers. How do you deal with that?
Before I answer the question, I just want to circle back on the sleep thing. So I've got the answer, Irene. The reason that you wanted to have a drink at night is because it had the desired effect. It knocked you out, which is what you wanted, but that's not sleep. And so what alcohol does in your neural pathways is it disassociates your brain from your body, essentially, at a certain point. So what was happening is you'd knock back a couple of tequilas, or for me it was a bottle of red wine, and I would pass out because my body stopped functioning properly. How's that for real? And then it's crazy. But then you fall asleep, but your body hasn't gone into this, your serotonin hasn't been released, which is the hormone that helps you sleep. And so you haven't had the wind down, melatonin or serotonin, whichever one it is. You haven't had the hormonal wind down that your body needs to get you into your sleep rhythms. So it just knocks you out, sends you straight into this catastrophic sleep, which you then wake up at 3 a.m. when your liver starts pumping all the poison out of your body. And that's what wakes you up, is your liver function freaking out, going, get all the poison out of my body. So that's why I think people do drink at night to get to sleep, because it does have that desired effect. But as we all know, though, that sleep is not real sleep, and that sleep doesn't help with your cognitive repair and all the things that your body needs to do overnight. So on the discomfort, I remember feeling in the first month that I had off alcohol in 2015, so insanely uncomfortable. And my anxiety went through the roof. I had like borderline panic attacks, and it wasn't fun. And I think it's because I wasn't aware that it was going to be hard. I think I thought, I can do anything. I'm a high achiever. Everything I do turns to gold. I'll quit drinking for a month and nail it. And the hard reality was that it really sucked. And I had to have some really hard conversations with myself. And so I just did that. The benefit of anyone watching this conversation is that you now have a heads up that there's going to be some crap days, so you can pre-plan, right? So I think the way my journey unfolded, it was so organic. Like I just was like, I want to do this thing and see how I go. So I really embraced the discomfort. I still went to my friend Leon's housewarming party on week 3 of being sober. And when the shots came out at 3:00 in the afternoon, I was like, I'm not drinking right now. And normally I'm the first person doing fireball shots. And it was a really interesting situation. I had one of my coworkers literally yell in my face about not doing shots. And that was the moment that I realized I've tapped into something here, because you're really angry about my personal behavior And it shouldn't piss you off that much that I'm not doing shots. If I'm not doing shots, but I'm angry about it and yelling at you that I'm not doing them, that's one thing. But I'm not doing the shots and you're screaming in my face and you're a grown adult human being. So that's when I realized this isn't about me right now. This is about you and all of your junk. And so I'm good with my decision. So I think for me, it was hanging on to that in the discomfort, knowing I'm good with my choice. And if that upsets people, that's their problem. But I'm still good with my choice. And I'm not going to, now that I'm at the time was 3 weeks into this story that I was sort of telling myself, I'm not going to back down now because like one guy got mad at me. In fact, that kind of like fueled my fire a little bit more. And I was like, I really want to make it through the 4 weeks now, just to make sure that I really did it well. So it will be uncomfortable, but I feel like everyone, you'll probably find a little aha moment in the discomfort that will give you the encouragement to keep going. But I mean, I can't paint another picture other than the fact that it like you'll have to go through the fire, but you'll get through the other side, you know, like that you have to go through it. You have to detox. The first 72 hours are pretty gross because your body is like, where's the poison you've been feeding me for years that makes me feel better? And you're depriving your body of what has become normal. So detox is a thing. Sugar cravings are a thing. Headaches are a thing, but it is only temporary. And you do wake up one day and it's like someone switched a flipping light on that has no one ever switched on before. And when you get to that day, then things really shift really fast in a really good direction.
They do, absolutely. What about you, Dave?
Yeah.
Are there things that you've got in place? Are there things that you filled the fridge with and the cupboard with to help you through, or would you have done that differently now?
Well, one thing I've got to say is, Maz, I would not ever mess with you. Trust me. Jesus. I think it's planning is essential, and I always say to people, work out what your opening hours are, and half an hour before that, you're going to get the cravings of, I can have a drink at 6 o'clock. So you need to plan things. So I say to people, like, if you go to the gym in the morning, switch it round and go to the gym when you'd normally have a drink, go out for a nice walk. That's what I used to do. I think there's no point being in the same location that I normally drink in, like in my kitchen, peeling potatoes on a Sunday afternoon where I'd normally grab a beer. Personally, I stayed away from non-alcoholic drinks in the first 30 days because I didn't want to trigger myself or take the risk of that. So I just used to do different things, or I downloaded a playlist on my phone. So when I put my headphones on, it took my mind away from thinking about drinking, because you can obsess over it. And it's a bit like when you're hungry, when you're starving, you go, oh, I could eat a horse. And then an hour later, I've gone through that now. So you have to grip your mind a little bit and just switch it up. That's my tip. Yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely dealing with that discomfort and finding things that will distract you from that.
Yeah.
As people get near to an end of a month, and if they've not really thought about where they're going to go next with their drinking, how can people begin to reflect on what they've gained in order to think about what to do next? Irene, how do you keep on this?
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, go out and see if you can buy some jeans that are a little smaller. And that's a really great way.
Obsessed with jeans.
Well, you know, if you can see the physical gain from something that you've taken away, and for me, you know, it's a whole new wardrobe because I fit into different clothes now. I feel better about my body now because I'm not putting poison in it. So I think that's a really great way to reflect on it. The great thing about everybody listening now is that Maz and Lisa and Sober Dave and even myself, but I've only been not drinking for about 2.5 years, but going sober in 2015 is very different to going sober now in 2021. It's literally a cool thing to do now, not to drink. It's pretty kind of normal. Even like really in Australia now, it's pretty normal. There's so many people now that just don't drink. So, you know, we're in a really great time to do it when it comes to peer pressure, I think.
Yeah, so much has changed in the last 6 years since I started Club Sober in terms of voices in this space. It's worth saying that not everybody loses weight, Irene, because some of us may eat all of the cake instead.
Yes.
And I want to reassure people that eating all of the cake right now is far better than drinking. And
I ate all of the cake, though. You know, for me, it was
I know, that's unfair.
And actually, at 9 months alcohol-free, I had to deal with what had become a very rising Red Bull consumption.
Wow.
Because I still only had 1 can, but I'd moved from those small cans to the pint-sized can. So, you know, I dealt with that in month 9. But that's okay, because I was sober, so I could deal with it, right? And I'd already done one hard thing.
Totally.
But there would have been something else for you as well there would have been something else. Like that was my experience, but for you, there would have been something that you noticed about yourself, even if it was a mental thing that just, you know, made you just feel so amazing after 30 days.
Yeah, and actually, you know, when I first started Club Soda, we used to ask people why they were joining Club Soda, and people would always say that it was to lose weight. And that was the majority of things that people said. And now the majority of people talk about their mental health. So I think this journey that we've all been on, and this growing sense of discussion around alcohol and changing your drinking, has now that mental health is an accepted part of that, has transformed as well. And I think that's a really big part of it. So reflections, Lisa, how do people begin to reflect and take their learning forward and decide what to do next, particularly if they've only had a month-long sort of goal to go for?
Another thing I'm a sucker for, a list. Write a list. Just get it all down on paper, all the things that you found fabulous, all the things that you found difficult. Finding a community for me was essential because I found it quite lonely in the first few weeks. But yeah, just get it all written down. That's all I can say on it. Write it down. Because it's easy to forget. Well, it is for me. I know you remember everything, Laura, but I don't. So I don't
remember everything, but I just don't write it down either.
Yeah. I've got like
don't assume that I remember stuff. Maz, how about you? How can people begin to reflect, to take what they learn this month forward?
Yeah, I'm going to echo the writing it down thing. That worked for me, definitely. I kept a bit of a daily journal while I was doing that first month. And I think if you want to go longer, you don't have to start drinking again on day 31. Like you've got to write your own rules about it, I think. And so, again, you want to go back to, as you mentioned too, Dave, my tip was like, figure out your purpose in all of this. Like, why are you on this journey? Why did you decide to stop drinking for 30 days? What is it that you wanted to discover about yourself, achieve, knock on the door of? And at the end of the 30 days, reflect on that and go, have I scratched the surface here? Am I enjoying this journey? Do I like this person I'm seeing in the mirror? And if you do, keep going. But if you don't, then learn how to moderate as well, so that you don't end up back in a place where you are really thinking about, I need to really do something dramatic, because a 30-day detox on anything is almost a bit of a dramatic thing to do. It's become unmanageable. It's gotten to a point where you can't have a little bit anymore. So you're going to cut it completely out of your life for 30 days. So what are the red flags leading up to that, And I think that's the piece for me is, and don't wait to the day 30 to circle back on your why. Look at it every day, because there'll be new revelations every day. And I loved your advice, Lisa, is look at it like this crazy experiment and this adventure. Like, what are we going to unpack today? How is this going to feel? What's going to show up for me? Ask yourself that, like, It sounds a bit crazy, but talk to yourself and check in with yourself on the whole journey so that you don't, meet a stranger after 30 days when you have a conversation with yourself for the first time. I think becoming self-aware is a really big piece in sobriety. And so to start that and to normalize that for yourself early on, I think is just another little thing to add into that toolkit that you can use throughout the 30 days.
Absolutely. And Dave, what do you think about how people reflect to go forward and decide what to do next?
Well, I'm really glad that I'm last after all that, because they've said everything. But do you know what? A really, really simple one. If anyone looks at my Instagram post today, it's a picture of when I was drinking and now I'm not. So strike a pose, because if you take a picture of yourself on day 1 and look at day 30, you can see the difference. Your eyes are clearer, your skin's fresher. Irene's wearing size 8 jeans when they were size 18. And you can just tell the difference. And that can be enough to make you stay motivated to carry on and think, do you know what, I'm going to do another week, or I'm going to see how tomorrow goes,
Everyone looks better when they haven't been drinking. Everyone. There's no exception. Eat all the cake that you want. You always look better after a month without alcohol.
100%. And you're starting to sleep better as well, As Maz was saying about the sleep disruption, we all wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of it's doing neurotransmitters balancing out again. And you're anxious and you're thinking, I've got to go to work tomorrow. Not only am I getting a hangover because you're still half cut, but you're worrying about getting up, then you fall asleep 5 minutes before the alarm goes off. So everything changes. So there's no point doing it unless you throw yourself into it, I think. So you've got to be really, really positive. Look at all the benefits. As Lisa says, journaling is essential. Look at Columbo, right? He used to, my favourite, by the way. I love Columbo. But he used to write little notes down and that you didn't know. And at the end, he could look at all the evidence at there. And when you read all the evidence, you can see what you've learned.
That's amazing. So, Dave, thinking where you are now then, several years on from your starting point, what do you think you've gained the most? What would you be most frightened to lose? That might be the better way to put it. What would you be most frightened to lose if you started drinking again?
All of it, really. I mean, I've done lots of different things now. And one of the big things that I am doing is in a few days' time is talking in a college, right? And I would have never done that when I was, when I was drinking, I couldn't talk to a stranger or talk to my neighbour because I felt I looked so awful. So I've changed my entire career. I've got a podcast out now. I know lots of lovely people like all you lot. And when we went to the Mindful Drinking Festival, it was fantastic seeing all the lovely new friends. But I held an event a few weeks ago in East London, and the woman there said, do you know what I noticed the most out of every single thing of today was all the fresh faces. And it really made me think, we're talking about how different you can look, but it's about how you hold yourself, but not just externally, it's internally, the confidence and self-respect. And I think that's what the answer, Laura, really, forget all the stuff that I've achieved. It's how I feel about myself. And if I started drinking again, I would lose all that again. And it's taken me a long time to build that up again. So I think it would be what I'd have to lose personally within myself, which would be the biggest loss.
Absolutely. Irene, what about you? What would you be frightened to lose? The smaller pair of jeans, apart from those.
All of my clothes.
All the new clothes.
All of my clothes. I you know what? In all honesty, I run a business, like 24 hours a day. What I would be afraid to lose is time. Is hours in the day. Like I'm up at 6:30. I have a great night's sleep. I feel fantastic. I two things: time and focus. and they're the things that I need, and they're the things that I have found since I have stopped drinking, and why there is just absolutely no desire at all to go back, because those two things are so important to me. I joke around about the genes, but really it comes to I need to stay focused and I need time to get shit done, right? And I've got, 2 kids, and I'm running a household and a business, and I'm busy, and I don't have time for drinking. I just don't have time. And also, it's not cheap either. People spend. Why is it that people, me included, wouldn't think twice about, okay, maybe I'm the only $900 on a bottle of 2010 Hill of Grace, didn't blink an eye. People just are quite happy to spend hundreds of dollars on alcohol like it's valuable. It's not valuable. Mm-hmm. Alcohol isn't valuable. Ethanol is not an expensive ingredient. Why do we think like that? Mm. So money as well.
We have a whole different conversation about, people ask why alcohol-free drinks are so expensive, and what you need to ask yourself is, why is alcohol so cheap? And that's because alcohol is a very cheap ingredient to make shit taste good, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, Lisa, what would you be most frightened to lose?
Like Dave said, everything. My life has changed so much. I've got so much more clarity. The way I am, I'm a better parent, I'm a better daughter, I'm a better friend. Like, I can sit, honestly, it's made me a bit emotional, actually. I can't believe sitting there how much my life has actually changed. And I can sit there, I've got more self-confidence now. I can say no if I don't want to do something. I can say yes if I do. It's literally life-changing, and I wish I could genuinely put it in a bottle, Irene, one of your alcohol-free bottles, because it's just that good. I can't rave about it enough. But everything, I would absolutely, I say this all the time, but if somebody put me in my old hungover body, I would think I was actually dying. I would think, this is it, this is my last moment. And I would be devastated. But yeah, just especially friendship, I think, and being, when you laugh now, like I used to go to the pub or the bars, and I'd sit there and I'd have a drink and we'd ha, right? But it wasn't real. Like now, I sit with Alex, who I work with all the time, and we genuinely belly laugh, like really, really laugh till it hurts. And that's so special. And I just want to say, we've got our new podcast series is coming out. So we're looking back at old ones. And I had Dave's on yesterday, and we did one, and where Dave's telling about him losing his teeth on the common near where he lives. It's dead good. You'll have to listen to it. But even watching that last night, it was like, and watching Dave proper belly laugh on it, is just one of the best things ever. So yeah, but I'm sorry, that was really long, Laura.
No, it's fine. Maz. We've lost Maz. She was about to say something, and now she's not there. She's just
worse frozen pictures, to be honest.
I was just thinking that's a really good freeze frame, actually.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's because she doesn't drink alcohol. That's how you look when you're frozen.
Yeah, poor Maz. We've lost her right at the end. I'd have to say that the thing that I would always say that I've got back is I've got my values back. I've been able to. Oh, I'm now sounding on somebody's thing. Oh, they've lost Maz totally. I'm just going to mute everyone. I think the thing that I've got back is that I've reconnected with my values, who I was when I was 20, and I can live the values that are important to me. And I think that's the thing that's been most striking for me, totally. I've just muted you all, but you can unmute yourself again. There was a little bit of feedback there. I'm going to get Maz back in. She's just coming back into the stream. Maz!
Sorry. This is probably a bad connection now.
That's okay. Why don't you give us your last bit? What would you be the most frightened to lose?
I honestly think, hand on my heart, I would not be on this planet if I didn't stop drinking. I think back to when I was drinking, and there were so many close calls, honestly. Like, I don't even know how I survived. So because I recognize that line in the sand, I just don't think I'd be here. So I'm grateful for every moment that I have, and I'm such a present person, and I feel like I live a life that I used to dream about living, but I had no idea how to get it, and I honestly feel like I live that life every day now. So to lose that would be to not exist anymore, and I feel like I'm on the planet for a reason now. So I've got purpose. I'm living so presently in my everyday life, and I'm grateful for it, and I appreciate it. So if I lost all of that, I wouldn't want to live. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's a really good point for us to all end on. Can I just thank you all for your time today? As always, guys, you're always so very generous to Club Soda and the time that you spend with us. And I'm going to end the webinar now.